I can't follow you, and I'm not going to follow you and give you personal protection. I'm telling you, for your own benefit, you had better turn around and get out of this area. You're not going to the courthouse in a group under condition that you come here, and I'll assure you that.
All we would like to do, sir, is to go to the
courthouse. Courthouse is closed. There's no business there.
We don't want to go in the courthouse. All we want to do is go to the lawn of the courthouse, kneel and pray, and we'll gladly return.
You take your prayers back to your church. That's a proper place to pray. Sir, I'm sure that God will hear your prayer just as well down there as it will up here, but you're not going on this courthouse alone.
Sir, whenever there are men who are in sinful conditions, prayer should be uttered wherever they are.
Well, why don't you pray where you are? Go back down there and pray. You think you're lily white? You think you're not sinful?
No.
Well, then go back to your church and pray.
Well, sir, can we pray together, you and I?
You do your praying, I do mine, big boy. You don't pray for me. I don't want you to pray for me.
Well, will you pray for us?
Because I don't think your prayers get above your head.
Well, will you pray for us?
No, I'm not going to pray for you. I'll tend to my business, you tend to yours. Now, you better move these people out of here.
Sir,
we're trying to protect you.
You have to know how to love before you...
Sir,
I don't have to love anybody I don't want to love.
Sir,
you do your own loving. You love your little niggas. I love who I please.
Do you believe in equal justice for all?
I believe in justice.
Do you believe in equal justice?
I don't believe in equal nothing. There's no two people in this world alike, and they are not equal on any terms or conditions. There's no two peas in the world alike. No two pieces of money nor nothing else.
And sir, are you saying that if I have a quarter and I'm black and you have a quarter and you white, then my quarter isn't as worth as much as your quarter?
That's your quarter. I'll
my quarter is worth?
I'll decide what my quarter is worth. You use yours and I'll use mine.
Y'all see this shit? Again. They finna fuck with me again. I ain't finna stop for them.
Give me your other hand. Give me your other hand.
I ain't finna give you nothing. Make it a fuck. The fuck? What the fuck is you doing?
Stop it or you'll get tased. Taser.
Drop your hand.
Y'all see this shit?
Drop your hand. Give me your hand. Gun.
I just left my fucking house. Y'all trying to do all this shit.
Stand up.
How much you got my fucking arm?
You got a concealed carry permit, bud?
Man, hell yeah. Man, you out your motherfucking mind. Bitch, I got a concealed permit. Take my motherfucking pocket. Got me fucked up.
Let me get this one.
Yeah, pick my shit up, cause I own that fucking gun, you dumbass cracker. Dumbass bitch. Take my motherfucking pack. I got a fucking license to carry my shit, you dumbass nigga. Oh,
yeah. You know why I'm making contact with you?
You
know why I'm making contact?
You stupid ass cracker. You heard the fucking racist dumbass nigga.
Making contact with you because you're wearing a mask. You can't wear a mask.
You notice the officer picks up the cell phone as it hit the ground, and he makes a claim into the cell phone.
You know why I'm making contact?
Wearing a mask. That was the pretense of the stop, which later led to his arrest and being charged with 3 different counts.
Making contact with you because you're wearing a mask. You can't wear a mask.
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. So down in Birmingham, Alabama, a brother by the name of Greg Gunn was walking down the street when he was shot 5 times by the police, 2 of which were in the back. So let's go back and see what happened to this brother.
Montgomery police say the officer and the man got into a struggle a block away, and it ended in the front yard of this home with the officer shooting the man. Family members identified the man as 59-year-old Gregory Gunn. Gunn died on the scene and, according to the family, was shot 5 times.
Wrongdoing and a senseless death by the Montgomery Police Department, because my brother is not a violent person, never has been.
Boom, 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 boom.
Scott Muhammad heard the commotion and says he literally saw the lawman pull his gun and fire the shots. Muhammad says this is the phone video he took moments after the shooting. He did not know whether the officer you see here in the video was in fact the police officer who pulled the trigger.
It's like, I don't know, because there's a bush there. I don't know if he was on the ground already, but
he unloaded into him. I saw the bright like flashes from the muzzle. Everybody said was coming, they know each other, they were coming from a neighbor's house, walking across the street to his mom's house. And he was shot to death.
We're here this morning to discuss.
Shortly after the incident, Police Chief Ernest Findley held a news conference at his office. The chief said Gunn had what the officer felt was a weapon or an instrument. It turned out to be a long pole.
At that point in time, I didn't see it. It's in the custody of the state.
Like I said.
For most of the day, family and friends gathered near the scene, all in shock, all in disbelief, wondering how this could happen and why. Gregory Gunn was apparently well-respected and well-liked. He often cut people's yards here in the neighborhood, but his full-time job was in the grocery business, working at 2 local grocery stores here in Montgomery. Mark and Val?
Brian, thank you. Chief Findley would not identify the police officer involved, but he did say that officer has been on the Montgomery force for about 4 years. MPD says it will work closely and transparently with the State Bureau of Investigation.
So this brother Gregory Gunn was walking home from a neighbor's house after playing cards when Officer Aaron Smith, or as they call him, A.C. Smith, said that he was stopping a suspicious person on foot. Now, he still has never really said what was suspicious about him, but of course I'm sure he fit some kind of descriptions of somebody who did something somewhere. So this Officer Aaron Smith said when he approached him, there was a quote-unquote struggle and a confrontation that lasted for a block and a half. Now, I don't really know what he mean by they got into a struggle. Basically that he pushed him and ran away before they shot him 5 times as he was screaming for help. Now, of course, we already know that this cop feared for his life. And Officer Aaron Smith said that this brother had a weapon in his hand, which turned out to be a retractable painter stick. So because he thought he had some kind of stick in his hand, he was forced to tase him 3 times, beat him with a metal baton, shoot at him 7 times, hitting him at least 5 times, 2 in the back. And because this brother may have had a retractable painter stick in his hand, that is completely justified. Then it turns out he didn't even have that. The stick didn't even have his fingerprints on it. His family and witnesses say that this dangerous retractable painter stick was already on his neighbor's porch and it wasn't even his. Not only that, this man was banging on his neighbor's door screaming for help when he was shot. Now this cop, A.C. Smith, never turned his body camera on. He never turned the lights on, which would turn the dash camera on. He said that his dash camera was malfunctioning, as it always seemed to do around the time that they kill somebody. And in actuality, we have no clue what happened that night. Anything could have happened. For him to have tasered him so many times, hit him with batons, and end up shooting him, there's no telling how long this was going on. And despite all of this, Officer Aaron Smith still feels he should have immunity from being charged with this murder.
Tonight, an Alabama police officer has been charged with murder in the shooting death of an unarmed black man. 58-year-old Gregory Gunn was killed last week. 23-year-old white officer Aaron Smith was charged with murder today. The officer stopped Gunn as a suspicious person. It's unclear why. Smith's lawyer tonight says his client will, quote, not be sacrificed on the altar of political correctness.
A solemn day for 23-year-old Aaron Smith and his family. But their attorney, Mickey McDermott, says his client is not guilty.
We believe completely that Officer Smith is innocent.
McDermott says they believe Officer Smith encountered a dangerous suspect that night in Greg Gunn.
Mr. Gunn fled and used force against this officer, threatened the life of this officer and the citizens of this community.
McDermott says Officer Smith was just doing his job as he was trained to do, and he believes the city felt pressure from the Gunn family to appease them.
We believe that these charges were brought to prevent public unrest. That makes the decision to arrest this officer political, not legal.
However, for the Gunn family,
God, we call on you this evening, and we want to say thank you for your grace and your mercy.
After a couple of days of peaceful protests calling for justice for Greg Gunn, The news of Smith's arrest came as a pleasant surprise.
God turned it around and make it good. That's it. I don't care how a man do. God's got to say so.
Moving forward, they say they will remain faithful to their pursuit for truth and justice.
And we going to have faith in God, that God will guide their every move and their every step. And not only that, we're going to pray for the officer also in this case.
He still claims self-defense, and according to Alabama law, he was in official capacity as a police officer and therefore cannot be charged. Now, after that was denied, they decided to go to the Supreme Court so they could get Judge Greg Griffin to recuse himself from the case. Now, the problem they had with Judge Griffin is he made a Facebook post about how he himself in Alabama was racially profiled for walking down the street with nothing but a stick in his hand. Judge Griffin made a Facebook post saying they had received a call that someone fitting my description was walking with a crowbar. I told the officer that the thing in my hand was clearly not a crowbar, and walking with a crowbar is not illegal. The officer said, no, it isn't, but when we get these types of calls, they have to check things out. I soon told them that I was a circuit court judge and showed them my badge identifying me as such. Throughout the ordeal, officers were courteous. So this judge just speaking on an instance where he experienced racial profiling himself is enough for them to get him off of the case. Now, they never bring up when judges have relationships with the lawyers or the police officers involved in the case. They don't talk about how that could possibly make them biased somehow. But this judge being racially profiled is enough to make him too biased for a case where a cop shot a black person. Now, we already know about the history in Alabama, and it's not just Alabama, it's America. But they still cannot let a black judge be in a position of power in a case like this. And it's not like this judge is not playing by their rules. He's doing things by their standards. We're going by their laws. But even when we have people in those positions who actually have the ability to make a change while still being within the law, they will take that power away from that person. We see that example time and time again. They do whatever they can to take their power away. If you're a judge, they will take your cases away from you. If you're a prosecutor, it doesn't matter. Elected official, it doesn't matter. They will not let you punish them, even using their own laws and going by their rules. This is why until we're in a position to enforce our own rules, we'll be in the same situation. The easiest thing we can do is attack each other. But until we put aside tribalisms, whatever divisions that we do have, in order to come together for the things that we agree on, like not getting killed, like our children not getting killed, like our mental issues, like our health issues, like our economic issues, things that we agree on, that we all agree on, and take that money that we give away and use it for something that we all can benefit from, like building an economy, so that you can protect yourself. Because as long as there's no consequences for whatever action somebody do to you, then they'll keep doing it over and over. It's up to us to stop it. We can keep crying and begging for justice, or do what we got to do and take justice.
He made it to the door, and the police grabbed him, pulled him out from the porch of my mother's house, and drug him into the neighbor's yard. And at that time, my neighbor across the street heard 4 shots, because he was at the door standing there looking. He heard 4 shots while my brother was hollering for my mother to help him. And then he was shot 4 times, 2 in the chest, 2 in the stomach. And my mother and my nephew opened up the door, and the police would not let my mother or my nephew assist him in any way for at least 30 minutes. He was laying there alive when the ambulance showed up, and the police, from my mother's account, my nephew's account, the ambulance showed up, and the police told the ambulance they could not come near this crime scene. And he was alive, still saying, "Mama, help me. I don't want to die." And from there, I understand that the police roped off the neighborhood. I have 10 to 15 people that was trying to get down the street to my brother because they know my mom's house is a close-knit neighborhood. And the police would not let anyone come within 3 houses length to my mother's front door. And we honestly and truly believe it's a senseless murder. And my brother laid there in the neighbor's yard and bled to death because he had no medical assistance from anyone. And there's no reason for my brother to be killed or murdered in that fashion, not only by anyone, but by the Montgomery Police Department. I believe my brother was killed and murdered for no reason at all. He was a very good person. And my family and I, the survivors of my brother, my sisters, and my other 2 brothers, we are looking for complete justice. And we want the person that committed this crime to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Because there's no reason he had to be murdered. An unarmed black man being gunned down, 2 shots to the chest, 2 to the stomach, and no one let him receive any medical assistance is an injustice to life itself and everything we believe in. And the thing I want to know is why the spot that my brother was murdered in, the police department themselves took my neighbor's hose pipe, from what I'm told, washed down the porch, the blood from the scene, wouldn't let anybody in the area. It was trash that had been sitting on the corner of his yard for 3 weeks that wasn't picked up. When I arrived here at my mom's house, all the trash, they said, was cleaned up by Montgomery PD, and that may be evidence of where he was drugged through, ran through, something. And I want to know why the Montgomery Police Department took it upon themselves, not a crime scene investigator, anyone, to get the blood, rinse the blood down, remove leaves and debris. And also, I want to be known that my neighbor across the street, he heard a lot of yelling, and his words to me was he was awakened by all this noise, and he actually told me that my brother was running toward the house, yelling for my mom, and the police pulled him back. There was a scuffle, and it was 2 officers. One officer stood there. When they separated, gunned my brother down, the doors opened to my mother's house, and they wouldn't let anybody give any assistance to the matter that was going on. And it was a senseless murder. Murder. It was murder. There's no other way to put it than murder.
That motherfucker right there needs a goddamn bullet. Right now, if you fucking hit me or threaten my life, I would fucking kill that motherfucker, whatever I had in that fucking house. And before the police got here, I would fucking put marks all over my shit and make it like he was trying to fucking kill me. I goddamn guarantee you, what would it look like? Self-fucking defense. Fuck that piece of shit.
So, thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be around sanity. As I said last year, I trounce around in the wilderness among people who think differently than I do, that I don't understand. It's good to be among people who think like I do for a change, even if it's for just a weekend. And we're working on getting more of those people around to our way of thinking.
Our general goal is to advance the social, cultural, economic, and political well-being and independence of the Southern people by all honorable means.
We're talking first and foremost about our people. And who are our people? Our people are white European Southerners.
But I'll tell you this, it starts everybody every year something starts swirling back around about it. You know, that this guy works at the police department founder of a local hate group. And I went in and told the chief last year, I said, because I had a promotional interview and I thought for sure this was going to be brought back up again, and it wasn't. And I went back in there and I said, is there anything that you want to ask me? I said, I promise you that whatever I do, I'm going to exercise good judgment about it. I'm not going to sell out my position with the league. That's something I believe in strongly. If it came down to it, I'd choose the league. And I said, is there anything you want to ask me? He said, you just answered every question I have. And he even said this, he said, we pretty much think like you do.
Huh.
They're like everybody else you come into contact with that's not here today. They're just not quite ready to take that step. But like I said earlier, they are much closer than they were 10 or 15 years ago.
When the riders arrived in Anniston, they were met by a brutal mob which shattered windows, punctured the tires of the bus, and set it on fire.
They held the door, and I remember them saying, let's burn them alive.
It's not easy being a League of the South member either. One of the things I know when I come and be among you folks is that nobody's here for personal glory, because I hope we get to that day one day too. I hope we go and we go, you know, that guy's just here because the League of the South is so dang popular and he's just trying to ride our coattails. I hope we get to that day.
In the rest of the news, the Dothan, Alabama Police Department has apparently been planting evidence on black suspects for over a decade, according to leaked documents obtained by the Alabama Justice Project. The Henry County Report yesterday published an article describing the leaked documents and how they show that up to a dozen Dothan police officers on a specialized narcotics team planted drugs and weapons on young black men for nearly a decade. All of the officers involved were reportedly members of a neo-Confederate organization that has claimed that blacks have lower IQs and should return to Africa, and that the civil rights movement is a Jewish conspiracy. A group of anonymous officers reached out to the Alabama Justice Project with hundreds of files from the Dothan Police Department's Internal Affairs Division. According to the report, current Dothan Police Chief Steve Parrish and current Assistant Director of Homeland Security for the state of Alabama were supervising officers in that department at the time. Multiple current and former officers have agreed to testify before a congressional hearing, or if the United States Attorney General Loretta Lynch appoints a special prosecutor from outside the state of Alabama. The details of the documents are disturbing, partly because they indicate that the highest levels of the Dothan Police Department were complicit in sending thousands of innocent young black men to jail, but also because this type of criminal behavior might still be occurring in other police departments across our nation.